everyone, and welcome to Humans of Moving, a Supermove Original Series. So get ready to crank up the knowledge and excitement because you've just landed in the powerhouse of relocation tales. I'm your host, Ryan Marsh, and today we've got Ed Whitehouse from Top Notch Moving out of New Jersey, man. What's going on with you, dude?
Hey, what's going on, Ryan? So good to see you. It's been a while. It was nice seeing you at the Movers Convention here in New Jersey. What was that? A couple months ago.
Yeah, man, a
So
couple months
always
ago.
always good catching up with you. Thank
So
you for
what's
having me on. I appreciate it.
no, I appreciate taking the time. I know you guys are still cranking and rocking and rolling. So the ability for you to spend 30 minutes with me or plus or minus, I'm just pumped to see you and have a good conversation. So what's it been like, man? So since I've seen you from the conference, how's everything going your guys' way?
That's good. I mean, what I always tell, whether it's other mover industry peers or, clients, I'll be transparent. We're pretty seasonal business. So at least up here in the Northeast, when it comes between Christmas and the New Year, between, the snow that we get here in New Jersey, generally people don't want to move around the holidays because there's, the stress. Everyone puts up their Christmas trees right after Thanksgiving. I don't know if you're like that, Ryan. I'm not like that. I wait at least a couple weeks before I start playing the Christmas music. But between the people for the holidays, the cruddy weather, it's usually a slower time. So for us as a mover, this is for us to try and proactively go out and get our clients. So whether is that through networking or trying to get in front of realtors or finding good referral partners to generate that business. So I would say we're a little bit slower than we'd like to be. That it's also big macro economic factors with higher interest rates, so buyers are kind of waiting on the sideline hoping that in the future that rates will go down and they can afford to make those mortgage payments. So that opens the opportunity for us in like what we call the renter, so the people that are moving from apartment to apartment instead of like the classic residential. That business is kind of continually to flow. But I can't complain. I'm happy that you give us the recognition. You guys at Supermove give us a great platform for us to continually to educate. So I think it's super important for all of our clients for moving is that there's a lot of pieces and it's super stressful. So for us to differentiate ourselves to be able to educate our clients, it's awesome.
No, that's good, man. Thank you for sharing that. And to back it up a little bit, you mentioned Christmas tree and holiday music.
Yeah.
One, my wife put the Christmas tree up before Thanksgiving. It's like we've got this rogue tree in the living room. I came home, I had a little offsite meeting. I come back and I'm like, the hell is this thing doing here? Decorated to the nines. And I'm like, we haven't even hit Thanksgiving. And of course, what was playing in the background is a little bit of Mariah Carey
Of
date.
course.
And
Of
I'm like,
course.
I hate Christmas music. For one, I can't stand going to shopping malls and hearing the Mariah Careys of the world and whatever. Nothing wrong with Mariah Carey.
Well,
Just
she was not, she was the number one, and now Brenda Lee's rocking around the Christmas tree. I think that might be some controversy in the Christmas music world.
But speaking of rogue Christmas trees, I guess throw the Christmas tree out, but rogue in general, man. This is something
Ooh,
that I keep hearing, and I heard it in New Jersey. I heard it when I was out on Long Island, and I'm hearing from some of our New York, clients as well that there's rogue movers out there. And again, when
yeah.
I spent the 12 years in the industry, I heard of it a little bit here and there, but again, I was more kind of rural New York, so probably a little bit harder for a rogue mover, sort of say, to become established, I would say.
Yeah.
But down your way, man, I'm seeing it pumped out nonstop.
Yeah.
Rogue movers, rogue movers. So what are you seeing down your way? And how are you guys like, I don't say attacking that,
Batting
but
it.
how are you again differentiating yourselves from that rogue mover and or educating your potential customers on what to look for and how to look
Yeah.
for it?
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest, that's a little big pain point here, whether it's us here in New Jersey, New York City, Long Island. So essentially what a rogue mover is for anyone that's listening and has no idea, they probably think rogue, we're talking about Star Wars or something like that. But essentially what it is, it's a moving company per se, or it's a group of individuals that are saying that are movers, but they're actually not. So the biggest indicator, what I tell clients is, they're showing up to your house in a U-Haul truck or a Penske or, not a wrapped truck. None of their guys are, wearing uniforms. So that's the first thing, seeing it. Now, it's hard for you as you're looking for movers to try and pick that out. And, through continual education, what I tell clients is when you're looking for a move, and whether you're going on Google, or searching on the internet, this is where a trigger point where you have to kind of ask the right questions because essentially a rogue mover is working with a broker. It's a third party. They're not actually the movers that are going to be doing the job. So they are, masking themselves as a full service moving company. So you'll talk to company A, they'll do the intake of the information, and then behind the scenes, they are calling moving company B, and moving company B showing up based on the information that the company A, which is what we call brokers in the moving industry, that's pulling that information. So essentially, you have to ask the questions. And what we always tell our clients is as you're looking for movers, is asking if they could come out and send a representative. We at Top Notch Moving and any reputable moving company, I would like to say, try and send a representative out to go see that job to get the scope of the job. And with that, you're getting a face-to-face interaction. You're shaking hands. They're asking questions. They're getting a better scope and understanding of the job. Whereas if these rogue movers, they're just going to the job now, it's all
Showing
dependent on the broker or the gentleman or woman that's taking the information to relay the proper information to the mover. Because what happens is these movers are just getting a pickup location and destination location, not really understanding the scope of the job. Do they need to pack? Do they need to unpack? How far is the truck away? So that leads to some clashing of the heads with the client and the moving company there.
it just sounds like the ultimate service failure is what kind of what feel like you sum it all up. It's like if nobody goes to the house or performs a virtual survey, right? To me, that'd be
Yeah,
my first red flag is who are you working with, right? So I don't know
right,
if people are going online and put, hey, I'm looking to move from A to B, and that
right,
company, that online company, what have you, spits out a quote. I would assume, right? They give that to
right,
the person moving. Well, meanwhile, behind the scenes, that online or that brokerage company is saying, hey, like I quoted this mover 3K. I got a job for you. Can you do it for 1,500? Is
right,
that kind of, and then
exactly.
this whoever shows up, they have no idea what they're packing, loading. There's no relationship with the customer. And did they
Right.
even see, or is there any like cube sheet or any visual before they go in that home, or is it like that raw? They're just showing up and
So,
like getting after it.
yeah, so that's a good question. So I think, to be honest, and we've only kind of gotten the education from us, hearing how the governing body is approaching how the situation is. So generally, I think a third party's taking that information and then they're just putting an estimate together. And to be honest, Ryan, I really think they're just taking they charge a fee. So, they say, hey, your move costs $4,000. They're asking for a deposit of, a high lump sum. And that right there, Ryan, is also a huge red flag. If they're not coming in person, they're asking for $3,000 or $4,000 deposit. For us, that's a red flag. We do ask for a deposit, but generally speaking, and most movers, they have to perform the service. And once the service is complete, then you get payment. I mean, it's a little bit different when you go out of state, but generally speaking, we're not asking for crazy sums of money up front. And, again, if they're asking for sketchy questions of like, ACH, all that, that's got to be a red flag for you because no moving company is trying to get your bank information. They just want to get paid.
Yeah, I
So,
look back over
as
my years, and yeah, I don't think I ever met. Hey, what's your what? We got to ACH this thing here. I need your money up
yeah,
front. And if I can remember, like we personally in New York weren't allowed to take deposits, so that
right.
was the first piece. When I go into a home or do a virtual survey, when the customer would say, "Hey, how much do you require down for a deposit?" To me, it was like, "Ooh, you know what? This is going to be great. This is where I can kind of educate the customer at
Yep.
this point and say, hey, who's asking you for a deposit? Because we can't take deposits in New York. And again, I don't know if things have
Right.
changed over the past year, what have you.
Right.
That was my first way of kind of leading of like, hey, these guys working with a brokerage firm, or are they just
Right.
calling somebody out of town that really has no local relationship or doesn't know the area, what have you. So for me, that was like, and you'd be surprised how oftentimes people are like, yeah, deposit, deposit. And I'm like, oh boy, who you
Yeah.
working with? Let me provide you a little bit of education here, show you what we do, and show you what you probably should be looking for with this sort of say. But how often do you guys come across rogue movers? Like when you're out doing quotes or
Pretty,
whatever, is it like up in the till in the
I
queue
would
quite a bit?
say, I would say generally speaking, these rogue movers are doing the long hauls out of state. There's not, I mean, I'm sure, again, it's hard for the moving industry as a whole and us personally to track it because they're basically a chameleon. They could be XYZ moving, and then the next day they'd be ABC moving. using the same guys, and they're renting a truck, so they don't have you know like a paper trail,
Yep.
so if they have, they take advantage of customers, they're having a 1-star review, they basically get shut down. They're like, all right, well, guess what? From XYZ, we go to ABC and do the same exact thing. They keep going and going. So I know they're trying to legislatively, or, with federal laws and regulations to stop this continual succession of it'd be XYZ, ABC, DEFG. They're continually just changing it. So what I always tell clients is, as you're looking for movers, and I can kind of quickly break it down. If you're looking at it locally, what I always suggest and what we movers try and do is build a relationship with our referral partners. So, if people are buying and selling a house, you partner with the realtor, ask the realtor, hey, do you have a moving company that you work with? Great. Can I get their card? If you're in a rental building, like we're trying to grow our business there, you talk to the property manager, the leasing agent. Hey,
Yes.
do you have a mover that we're doing? So that's like a direct relationship that, there's some trust, there's some friendship, there's some sort of relationship for them to be able to, yes. If you don't have that, the next thing is it's a little bit trickier because then you're going online. And again, there's movers and up here in the metro New York area that, they're paying for their sponsored ads, which, it's almost I hate to say it, the clickbait, but it's up
Yep.
there. So it's an easy click for you to press it because you don't want to have to scroll down. So, you just kind of have to do your proper due diligence. So, sometimes when people look up, because we're based in Hackensack, New Jersey, if you look up Hackensack, New Jersey mover, 3 or 4 movers may put it through their SEO optimization and through their marketing. They say they service Hackensack, or they're servicing Hackensack, but they're not based in Hackensack. And because Google has that algorithm,
Yeah.
people can click on it, and then all of a sudden they're looking at their bill and they're getting charged, $150 extra because these people are coming from this New York City. So they have to charge for the gas, they have to charge for the tolls. And they're not really understanding that if you scroll a little bit further down, that you can find a local moving company.
So you almost took the question I was going to ask you. You kind of answered a lot of it. But
Right.
if I'm somebody that's looking to search for a moving company right now, obviously I'm hopping on my phone, I'm going on my laptop or what have you. Like, what should I be looking for when I'm comparing, say, a top notch to ABC moving? Just I'm throwing a fake moving
Yeah,
company out
yeah,
there.
yeah,
ABC
yeah,
moving
yeah,
company. I
yeah.
know there's ABC
Right.
moving companies out there, but
Yeah.
like when I'm looking, and again, you scroll down, you see the 5 or 6 different moving companies that are there. How do I know I'm getting top notch, like top notch service,
Yeah.
top notch movers?
Yeah.
Obviously, it's pretty easy to select you guys right there.
There we go. I mean,
But
that's maybe why we chose the name. What I would say to that is, like I said, it's getting through I say haze, but getting through the sponsored ads. They may have a great, click, they may have a great advertising, they may have a great discount, which some clients want that, and that's service or moving company could provide that, price. But what I try and educate my customers is, if you scroll down and you click on their website and you see, you kind of have to do some homework. you know People like to just click it very quickly and get a number. And what I try and tell the clients, and what Supermove does, and what the goal of us here is, to educate the customer that although it may sometimes be price, you kind of have to scroll down, make sure they have a website, check out their reviews. I mean, obviously, I'm always, whether I'm going to a restaurant in New York City or checking out a recipe online in the crock pot, you want to make sure that you're making, why would I go get to a 1-star restaurant in New York City and I'm
yeah,
gonna expect a 5-star service out of it? So I always say, make sure you look after you kind of find a local company, where you kind of have to click on the Google map and they show you moving companies, is like, start looking at how many reviews do they have. If they're got 500 reviews and they're 4.9 versus a moving company's got 10 reviews and, or 5.0, like, you kind of generally want to gravitate to someone who's got more reviews because they have more clients that they can kind of attest for. So making sure they have a website, because you'd be shocked at how many moving companies don't have a website where you click on it and it's out, it doesn't even exist. I think another big thing that's kind of subtle, and people maybe not know the difference of it, is like an actual picture of guys in your uniform, like on the website. It's not like what people call stock photo, where
yep,
they're just showing generic people, generic situations. Like, a moving company should probably have invested or taking the owner taking pictures of guys on his job to show, what they are about, whether it's their trucks, their guys, listing their services. So just checking that. And then I think one other thing that at least we try and educate people is they should have a DOT number and a license number. Just because they have a DOT number, sometimes that's not for household goods. Again, it goes back to the rogue movers. The DOT and the license number will be clear cut that you can go into the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. It's such a mouthful to say that, by the
Say
way.
that again. No.
Yeah, no, I can't. It's like she sells by the seashore. I can't even say
Sally,
that
Sally's always
in one go.
selling seashells down by Top Notch's moving company or something like that.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess the three things I would tell clients: make sure you're clicking on the Google map, making sure they have, when you're comparing moving companies, even though they may have, similar ratings, look at the one that has a little bit more. And then three, making sure they don't have stock photos. And then four, this may be the bonus, is just making sure they have a DOT number and a license number on their website, because if they don't, that should be a red flag as well.
Super red flag, man. You made some phenomenal points throughout that. Websites, reviews, DOT, and then the I can't even say it, Federal Motor Carrier, blah blah blah, what have you.
Yeah.
Make sure that's all checks out. So it kind of brings me to the next point, right? So obviously a lot of people's budgets have tightened up over the past year or so. So for someone who is on a tight budget but still wants to hire a reliable moving company, cost saving tips without compromising on quality, like what do you guys recommend, right? So you're always going to have that, you're going to have those customers that they just don't have the 3, 4, 5K sort of say to get a full service move, but they want to hire somebody rapidly because they just can't, they don't have family in town, or they just don't have the strength, or whatever the case may be, right? So how do you work with them? What are some tips, tricks that you can potentially pass on to those folks where they still get that awesome top-notch moving company, we'll say, but yet they're not paying 2 arms and 2 legs to go around the corner?
Right. So I think first, being organized and packed, because 9 times out of 10, that's never the case. And look, I can't say that for everyone, that, everyone's not going to be stressed out. Everyone's not going to wait till the last minute to pack, because that's just human nature. When it's something as stressful as moving, no one wants, as much as you want to say it, no one ever is. So first thing off the rip is making sure all your drawers are empty, everything's packed and labeled. You can go the extra mile again. So we at Top Notch Moving price out jobs in terms of how long we think the job's going to be. So if you have all your boxes taped, labeled, go right by the front door, our guys are going to fly through. Our basic service with Top Notch, we include taking apart your furniture and putting it back together. If you want to say, if people are thinking about ways to save some money and time, if you're comfortable in taking apart your furniture in terms of like your bed, that's something that you can do. Other than that, I would say, as if you can get the items maybe in the center of the room or as close to the door, because at the end of the day, it's just really for us to how long it's going to take for us to complete the job. There are things that you're not going to be able to control. Maybe in some areas like where we are in New Jersey, I think a big problem that happens is they reserve the parking, but no one actually, make sure that no cars are parked there. So then all of a sudden now, instead of us from here to here is where the truck's being parked and there where the house is, now we're going from here to off the screen.
You're around the corner.
Yeah. And it just compounds more time because we're not right there. So that's another thing, is just staying on top of just the little details.
There's nothing
Another thing, I guess,
nothing worse, man, when your driver and crew shows up to site, the street is absolutely packed with cars. They drive by the house and they're like, oh gosh, like what a great way to start the morning off. I've got a hard carry or push or what have you. So we struggle with that a little bit up in the Ithaca market, right? I mean, a lot of one-way streets, tight streets, and it was like, park your personal vehicles out front, take up space, because this is going to impact your time. And I think that's that transparency with the quote as well, is if you do this. So I'd always say, like, hey, I'm going to quote it based on you not moving your boxes to the garage or into the front room. I'm going to quote this move as you're not taking apart the beds or the backs of sofas or what have you. And I'm going to give you a worst case scenario based on what I think it's going to take for you to do nothing.
I think that's
the more that you do, and theoretically, your quote should come down.
So
because there's many times I did quote, people on a budget sort of saying, hey, if you do, I'm going to quote it based on you doing everything that you say you're going to do.
Yeah.
Well, what happens, Ed? Your team shows up, the place still isn't packed, right? Furniture's not
Yeah.
taken apart. And that
Yeah.
hour or 5.5 hour quote is now going 8 hours. And what happens? You got a customer
Yeah. What
off a little bit.
So what I always tell our customers is, the box thing is such a hard thing unless, because sometimes we get that call the day before because their movers bail, they think they can do it, they can't get a U-Haul, XYZ. There's always going to be a list of excuses. But what we try and do to get ahead of the curve, and I'm sure you did it as well, was being able to contact the client ahead of time, 2 or 3 days. Hey, just want to check in, want to confirm the time, 9 o'clock, want to confirm the pickup address, want to confirm the delivery address. Once we kind of do that, checking off, hey, Miss Jones, how's the packing going? I know you said you had 40 boxes. How's it looking right now? Oh, Edward, thank you for calling. I forgot I packed an extra 20 boxes.
Yep.
And like you're saying, Ryan, we are always conservatively estimating that time. And the reason being is, one, it's not fair to our guys to try and quote a 4-hour job when we know it's not possible just because we're meeting the customer's demand of, they're in a tight budget. What I tell the clients is, you're hiring a moving company. You have to understand the value of what our guys are doing. Literally, one, backbreaking work. Two, it takes time for us to make sure your furniture is not getting damaged, for us to load the truck. Like, there are things, that we try and align our guys with, in terms of making sure they're efficient, they're hitting their check marks in terms of making sure they're creating the furniture, they're making sure they're wrapping the furniture. So for us to put that pressure on our guys to then make sure our client's happy, but then they're rushing, so they're trying to get the stuff out and it dings the wall or it chips a thing of furniture. Now the customer is getting upset because we're now probably going to go over, or two, their furniture is broken. So why not, like you said, give them tips of how they can save money, one, and two, give them a conservative estimate. So that way, if they don't do that, or if they do that, and our guys, like any moving company or any reputable moving company, are doing their jobs and they're efficient, it's going to probably take less time because you were building in that extra time for them to, for miscellaneous things. So not only are our guys pressured to finish in a certain amount of time, but now our clients are happy because they assumed a 6-hour day and now it's 5. So I just saved an hour and a half worth of time.
You made many great points, and there's one that really stands out is kind of the customer expectation, crew expectation. I feel too far often we are setting our crews up for failures because we want the customer to have the better price. And we think, hey, if our guys just absolutely execute, if the customer does somewhat what they think they're going to do, we should get in. Customer should have that great price, experience, or what have you. But when the customer does not do what they're supposed to do, what's that do? That puts pressure on the crew, right? So they're moving faster, they're shaking a little bit faster, creating damage, dents, whatever the case may be. So I got off a while back of quit putting the pressure on the crew. The crew's got enough going on to worry about. I mean, moving's not fun. It's hard work. It's not for everybody.
Right.
I put a little bit more of those expectations and pressure on the customer. Hey, if you want this, you've got to do this. Kind of like we talked earlier. I'd quote with, you're not doing a thing because this is kind of commonplace. But at the same time, if you do, guess what? You'll be
get rewarded for it.
That way,
the
pressure wasn't on me anymore as a sales guy. The pressure wasn't on the crew anymore. The pressure's on the customer to do what they say that they were supposed to do. And I always hear, customer excuses to me were basically prime revenue opportunities for us. So if the guy, I didn't get a chance to get to my packing, well, why do I know that the day before the day of the move? I want to know that a week out. So, we set parameters where, hey, if it's 100 boxes, PBO, packed by owner for the ones that don't know what PBO is, I would hope if you know what that is, but we would call at least a week out. Hey, I'm checking. Not only are we checking on what you're packing, send them a link so they can video the progress.
Yeah.
So everybody, hey, I'm ready to go. Well, customers ready versus are ready is two different things. So I'll transition over to with that is, as this moving industry evolves, so I'm trying to be a little mindful of time. I know you got a lot of things going on today.
It's okay.
As the moving industry evolves, like what trends do you foresee in terms of customer expectations and services offered by moving companies? So again, as we chatted a little bit earlier, like customers want that speed, right? They want the move date, they want to know what their price is. So what are you seeing on your end of kind of customer expectations now versus before? And what are y'all doing to keep those high standards?
So first thing I would say off the rip, or off the top is streamlining the process, because I feel like people nowadays, their attention span's super short. So until recently, we didn't have a way of being able to get a quote over to them right away. So being able, and I think any moving company, whether you're just starting out or you're a larger company, for you to be able to shorten that time frame from you either doing a visual consultation or an in-home consultation to get a price, then the customer doesn't have to think as much, and you're being able to book there. So I think the streamlining of the process is important. Two, the communication with the client. So uh, I hate to say this, but I feel like there's the generation now that are looking to move. We're all about cell phone. So whether it's FaceTiming, texting, people and emailing, it's not really a phone. Like people work a 9 to 5. So I feel like people utilizing the automation, whether it's, through email, through text, for someone to like while they're working, they're on a work Zoom. I just saw them and I'm able to give them a price right away. Like, utilizing other avenues of communication is important. In terms of like our guys and just the operations part, I think it's important. And I guess one other thing I wanted to mention as like a mover from just a company standpoint is I think important for education content, showing what you should be seeing and expectations of a moving company. I have a buddy who owns a roofing company, and what he does I think is brilliant. I would hope that eventually, whether it's your platform or for us as a moving company, he's generated enough content so when he goes to the consultation, he's emailing them, okay, if you want your roof done certain way, the client knows start to finish, what materials being used, what the timeline is, what it's going to look like before and after. So the customer has no questions. He goes in, he's able to give a price based on, what he has to do. So I think that'd be important for moving is if, okay, you're in an apartment building, generally speaking, they're the same parameters, they're roughly the same amount of square feet, roughly the same amount of furniture. If you can just show like a time lapse or, this is the material we're going to be using, this is what it is. And give that education to the customer ahead of time, it's basically you just are going to win that job as long as you fairly price it. And then one last thing, I think learning from a couple moving peers, I think it's the continual education and goal alignment with your employees. So
Yes.
making sure that you're bringing guys in, making sure they're properly making sure they are learning how to wrap the furniture, making sure they're cleaning the trucks, because I think that's important is to continually keep these guys engaged and making sure equipment's good.
No, man, love it. So kind of what I'm picking out of that is obviously digitizing your experience, right? Consumers want that digital experience because they're getting it everywhere else.
Right.
Speed to lead, obviously, and the biggest piece to me is the transparency.
Yeah.
It sounds like the guy that's got the roofing company is doing a phenomenal job explaining what he's doing, how he's doing it, what he's using. I think we can all kind of take a little page out of that book and implement that
Right.
here. So, kind of lastly here, hot seat questions for you, man. I know I didn't
Okay.
prep for any of this here, but before we close the show, we're getting close to that 30-minute mark. So I got 3 questions. We got
Okay.
3 minutes off the cuff. Love to hear your responses here. You ready?
All right. All
So,
right. I'm ready.
who's more likely to win a fight, Superman or Batman?
Oof. I'm gonna say Superman.
Why Superman?
Uh, I just, although Batman's got all the gadgets, I think Superman's just not from this world, so I'm picking him.
I do like the Superman pick. I was gonna go Batman just because he's got his boy Robin, right? So if Superman
True.
starts doing his thing, hopefully Robin kicks in and does his thing. But
I'll say this though, I like the Batman movies than the Superman movies in real life.
I haven't seen either, believe it or not. Never. I have
Oh
I
my
have like
goodness.
ADD, man. I have a hard time sitting down watching anything. Like it's
That's
hard enough for
well,
me to sit down and do a 30-minute podcast without getting up and trying to do something.
you have to watch The Dark Knight because that's unbelievable. That's everyone's top 10 movie list. And if someone out here has not watched it, you and Ryan better go set up a podcast or go talk about it. That's crazy.
You might be sending me to the theater after this one. So
Yeah.
question two, who's the craziest person you've ever spent time at a casino?
Uh that's well, I haven't spent too many times in a casino. I would say we had a good time when we went to the New Jersey Movers Conference, and we'll leave it at that one, I guess.
Good answer. And I'm still upset at Dave for saying, "Hey, just put it on black. Put it on black,
Yeah,
Dave." No, I want to keep
the
pulling
the
that crank. He
the
was so confident, so
the
confident.
confidence though was unparalleled because everyone was sold on it. So, I think whether it's in a casino or, going to a job, just to quickly bring it back to a move, I used to be a little bit not as confident, but now knowing like the value that I bring as a mover with my team, having confidence is so important because then we all bought in. We're like, all right, let's do it. We're gonna win this.
Yeah, we all bought in, and we all thought we were gonna win, and we all walked away losers. But no, I think many memories made on that trip, man, that I'll
Yeah,
cherish for a long, long time. So, last question
absolutely.
before we close her down here, and this is weird. I don't even have an answer for this one, but what sport would be the most fun to add alcohol to it?
Ooh. Ooh. Well, to be honest, I've played several sports, whether it's like underhand softball, flag football. Um, I'm trying to think.
That's
What's
a tough
up and
one.
coming? I think it would be easy pickleball. They
Oh,
haven't done that yet.
I love pickleball. Yeah, I'd probably blow a knee out if I had a couple drinks and played some pickleball.
Yeah, well, it's a small court. It's a small court, not very moving, so the risk of injury is not that high, and it's trending. It's a huge thing for us to capitalize on. Maybe you're onto something, Ryan.
I'm thinking of something. Yeah, man. If we ever play pickleball, man, stay out of the kitchen. I tell you, stay out of the
Yeah,
kitchen. I love that. But no, man, Ed, I appreciate you taking the time to jump on and chop it up with us today. And I thank everybody else for turning into the humans of moving. And we'd love to have you on our show. So if you're a mover, a shaker, or just passionate about this industry like Ed and myself, hit me up on LinkedIn, shoot me a message, or you can even email us at info@supermove.com. Ed, it was a pleasure, my man.
thank you so much. Happy holidays, everyone.
You too.